Hi, welcome to LearnHowToGarden.com. Today's film is all about how to grow fantastic strawberries in a container. If you're not subscribed to us at Learn How to Garden, there's a link above me right now. Click on the link and input an email address. Every single time we put up a new film, we can let you know. You get to read much more detailed explanations of exactly what's going on in the films that give you more detail so you can grow even better. It means you can see what the gardening club is about at Learn How to Garden, and of course what those specialist films are that are such good value and are delivered straight to you via the internet. Strawberries are rightly one of the favourite summer fruit, and what I find really interesting about that is the majority of strawberries we buy from supermarkets just don't have any taste, because a lot of the really tasty varieties don't travel particularly well. But you can buy well-grown little plants like this right now from a lot of nurseries or even online. And the fantastic thing is that they will fruit this summer, and if you actually plant them properly, not only can we get them to fruit for 2, 3, 4 years, but we can actually produce more and more plants off those, so we could end up with a strawberry bed or more containers. The first thing to do is think about what plants you're buying. Now, it's very tempting to buy ones that are covered in fruit, which is fantastic, but what's more important is make sure they have some flowers. Now, the flowers should have a beautiful yellowish centre, not a dark one. If you see ones with dark centres like this, that means that the strawberry at some point has either dried out or been frosted. So the best thing to do is pinch those off, throw them away. Strawberries are quite shallow rooted, but don't like to be cramped. So this pot is a 50-litre pot, but it's wider than it's deep. And that's important because the depth doesn't really need to be much more than this, which is about 1 foot to 18 inches. But the area means we can plant 3 strawberries, although they're closer together than they would be in the ground. The next important thing is what you're going to plant them into. You could use John Innes number 2, and you would need to lighten that up with some perlite or some sharp sand. The other option, rather than John Innes, is to use a really high quality multi-purpose compost. Now, this particular compost is based on a mixture of wool and composted bracken, which means it gives us very similar qualities to what a peat-based compost would. It means it will keep the growing media nice and moist without letting it get too wet, but also that wool will break down over a period of time and we'll get the strawberries to have a very gentle feed. They grow fantastically in this. So what I'm going to do is take this compost, but you could use, like I said, a multi-purpose compost, and to that I'm going to add about 20% by volume of sharp sand. You want good drainage, and the only way to get drainage is to actually either add sharp sand or perlite. The difference between the two is that perlite is about 4 times more expensive than sharp sand. So I'm going to add between 20 to 25% of sharp sand to the compost, and we're just going to mix that together really well. Top tip, if you're using a bucket, is that if you roll the bucket from side to side, what it does is bring the compost from the bottom to the top, and then you can just use your hand to mix it really well together. And it's worth taking time to mix this well together because, as I said, the strawberries are going to be in this container for up to 5 years. Once it's all mixed, you need to fill the container to within about 2 to 3 centimetres of the top. When you've filled it within 2 to 3 centimetres of the top, stand up and then just pick it up and drop it 2 or 3 times. Strawberries like quite a firm soil to grow in, and just by dropping it, that'll firm it enough. Now, before we plant the strawberries, the next thing I'd really recommend is a mycorrhiza fungi. That's a fungi that allows the strawberry roots to very quickly get into contact with the natural bacteria that's in this soil, and that means that its ability to take up food is dramatically increased. All the professionals would tell you that by adding mycorrhiza, you really do increase your crop dramatically. And the way to do it is you take one of your strawberry plants, take it out of its pot, and you can see it has a wonderful root system. Take the pot, and that lets you roughly see how big a hole you'll need for your strawberry. Take some mycorrhiza and really coat the roots of the strawberry with it. Flick the rest into the hole. Now with strawberries, it's really important where you plant them. The strawberry needs to be at exactly the same depth in the pot or in the ground as it is now. If it's too deep, the crown will rot off. If it's too shallow, the roots will dry out. So we put our strawberry in. We make sure that the compost is in contact. And then we do what the professionals call the leaf test. And that's quite simply, you take your finger and thumb, you take the end of a leaf and you pull. The leaf should tear before the strawberry lifts out. If the strawberry lifts out, it's not firm enough. And obviously we continue with the other two, and what I would do is put them in a triangle so that you have the maximum space. And as I've said, this is much closer than you would plant them in the ground. But the reason we can do that is we can feed this container much easier. Now, strawberries, like all fruit, benefit from a high potash feed. So either tomato feed, or if you have your own comfrey feed, that is perfect for the strawberries. Once the strawberries are in, you need to gently sprinkle with water. Don't overwater your strawberries. Probably the commonest cause of strawberries dying is overwatering. Now, just because they're in a container doesn't mean to say that the normal pests won't get at them. So you're probably going to have to cover this to keep birds off, but that's quite easily because it's much smaller. And also, what you can do as the strawberries grow, you can get them to just lean over the side so that they're not in contact with the soil, which means they don't rot. Any that come into contact with the soil, the easiest thing to do is to take some straw and just put it underneath to raise them off the soil to keep them dry, or you can get things called strawberry mats which do the same job. But it's just to make sure that they're not sitting on damp soil because they'll rot really easily. So that's all you need to do. You now sprinkle with water very gently, and then don't feed for the first month. After that, I would feed every 2 weeks with comfrey feed or a tomato feed at about half strength. Feeding it more won't give you more strawberries. And when the strawberries are actually starting to colour, you can sometimes, by reducing the watering slightly, make the flavour slightly more intense. So go out there, don't buy the sort of classic ones that you see for sale in supermarkets. Look for ones that have got more taste. Gourgette is a fantastic French variety that I would highly recommend. Calypso is quite nice. So those are the two that I tend to grow. You can actually do this as well with alpine strawberries. If you want to know what they are, go to the website, type in alpine strawberries, a whole different type of strawberry that will crop for a lot longer than these. And what's interesting with those is they'll grow in the shade.